now that I have your attention, I'd like to go ahead and teach you a little bit about the good habits for studying and learning. I'm Scott Votino. Let's get started. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is you have short-term memory and you got long-term memory. Now, short-term memory has a limit. There's a capacity on it. But now, your long-term memory, limitless. But you have to be able to properly encode everything. And with T Week coming up, I figured what better than to give a short presentation on how to get ready. So, starting off. First thing I'm going to discuss is context-dependent memory. Now, the definition of this is that you're better able to recall information where you encoded it in the first place. Sounds confusing, easier than you know. All that simply means is that if I needed to, for example, recall a lesson objective from a math lesson, if I go to the math classroom, I'm more likely to recall the information that I'm in search of. Or if I wanted to be able to think about oxidation numbers or some kind of chemistry related topic. If I go over to Taylor Hall or go to your chemistry classroom, you're more likely to get the information. Now, the thing that I want to bring up that's going to be a big part of what's coming up is elaborative rehearsal and maintenance rehearsal. Two different things that serve two different purposes. So, oftentimes, cadets and myself cram, studying in the last minute. And a lot of that is maintenance rehearsal. What that is like, an example would be repetition. So if I'm having a vocab portion, I know there's going to be a big vocab portion in a chemistry quiz that's tomorrow, or maybe even like 2 periods from now, and I have no idea what's going on. What do? Vocab cards, stare at the definitions, go through it in your head all the way until you think you have it memorized. Yeah, sure, that may work, and yeah, you could get a good grade on the quiz portion, but odds are likely after that quiz, maybe a few hours later, if asked what the definition of one of those words means, probably not going to remember it, and that's because it's in your short-term memory. Long-term memory requires elaborate rehearsal, and what that is a lot different. Elaborative rehearsal is where you attach a personal meaning to a topic, or when you relate it to other concepts that you learned. So rather than taking a word and just writing out the definition, I could write the word, write the definition, then maybe write some synonyms that I can think of when I think of the word. Other examples of elaborate rehearsal would be making possible quiz questions after you do a reading. So the next thing is the value of distinctiveness. So T's are coming up, and teachers are like saying, oh, you got to cover everything. Make sure you know everything for the T. But that can be really bland and kind of intimidating at first, because there's so much that we've learned and so much that we're going to have to recall for when the test comes up. So by adding distinctiveness, you're better able to focus on it and remember it. So what that would mean is similar to elaborative rehearsal, but making a meaning for it. So that would mean for English, we're going to have to write an essay. And we've read in writing today how to write certain essays, whether it be like a research or if it's an argumentative essay but maybe don't necessarily remember all the stuff that we read. A good idea would be to think back, maybe even think of some of the stories we read as examples of the reading. So like, for when it comes to the argumentative papers, maybe I would think of the naysayer. And I would make sure that when given the prompt to, let's say, write an argumentative essay, I would make sure that in some part of my essay to address the naysayer, to make my counter argument and a rebuttal. Now, the important thing is studying, obviously. Whether you have to still do short-term and cram the last minute before a T, or whether or not you're spacing out or chunking your work, so rather than cramming, the opposite is chunking. So that would mean, like, if I have 30 lessons to cover, you know, and we have 2 weeks to do it, maybe you would do about 2 or 3 lessons a night. And that way, by the time you get to before the test, you'll have a pretty good idea of most of the topics, and you'll know specifically which one's more that you need to work on. But regardless of what technique or method you use, the important thing is to know where to study. So oftentimes people, you know, after class, a lot of people go to their room and they do their work in the room, and sometimes they stay in the room. And that's not always a bad thing, but get out a little bit. Go around, find other places to study. What makes a good study environment is often a well-lit room, quiet, not too crowded, and you actually want to make sure that the temperature is fine. If it's, you know, too warm, you tend to fall asleep. If it's too cold, you'll be uncomfortable and distracted. So make sure that it's a place that you can relax, but at the same time, focus on what you need to do and get your studies in. Now, what makes a bad study environment? I'll show you. Like I was saying, bad study environments. If you look around me, now back at me. Hey there. Bad study environment, you know, it's cramped, there's random pipes sticking out of the place, loud with all the machinery, smelly, hot. Probably not the best of study conditions. This place probably gives you AIDS. I got a better idea. Follow me. So you see, if the day room is full, study room is full, maybe the library is a little too far out, don't want to get dressed up, your room can be a good place, you know. As long as you talk to your roommates, tell them that, hey bud, I need to study, I need to focus. Slap on your headphones and get some good quality studying in. Appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed the presentation. And one last piece of information when studying for the T's. Old WPRs. Look over those, old quizzes, go to AI, that sort of thing. Go Army, and always be Navy.